Sideline Sit Down with Real Sports Live. My name is Mark Molina, and our special guest for our third and final show here on Friday afternoon is Pace head basketball coach Jose Luis Ramirez. Coach, thank you for joining us. A pleasure as always.
Thank you for having me. I've been enjoying these sideline talks. These are really refreshing. I like to watch. I'm a big fan. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach, and we do like kind of talking to people in kind of a more informal kind of base, but it's been fun. I'm glad you enjoy them. So that's always the goal here. But yeah, and especially in times like this, Coach. But now things are slowly starting to peak back. I know you guys in particular had a big showing this week for as the workouts came out again.
Right.
I know you guys. I know the workouts have yielded a lot of kids coming out. I spoke to Coach Leal. And he was just telling me that all the school district is just flourishing with the attendance and, diligently doing y'all's part. How's that been, you as a coach?
I think just like anybody else, we were so eager to get back. But boys and girls have gone out there working out. It kind of brings back some normalcy to your life. And I think the kids just being around other kids and getting back to work, even though they're quick workouts, I mean, everything is outdoors. We can't be inside the gym, not in Brownsville. We're not inside the gyms. Okay. We're not in the weight room. Everything is just on the field. The kids, I mean, it's kind of like a different kind of determination because I've seen two-a-days. I worked football for a while, and you see the two-a-days. And when they come out, initially, it's there's a certain intensity. Well, these guys, even though it's not two-a-days, they've been getting after it, and it's been a lot of fun because now you get to go out there, yell and scream a little bit, and it's again, it just brings back some normalcy to your life.
Yeah, and like I said, these are not mandatory workouts. One of the things was they are optional, and then you guys still provide your Zoom or whatever you guys do. You're required to still kind of provide that, but despite everything that you guys have done, the numbers for the kids. I mean, you mentioned you're not inside, so that helps. A lot of the kids come out. I know you guys are utilizing the football field out there, and everybo's still at a safe distance, but there's still a lot of kids out there. How did you guys expect that? The coaches and everything.
I gotta be honest, I didn't. I felt that we would probably have 50, 60 kids because we do have some diehard kids at Pace. But we had well over 100, 130, 140 kids out. And again, there's a lot of girls. There's baseball out there. They're in the baseball field. We have tennis, and they're in the tennis court. So it's just a big number. And so I think the kids kind of want to work, and they understand the situation they're in. So they so far it's been great. It's been great to see. But no, I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, and kudos to BISD. I know Coach Leal, talked about a couple of weeks ago when this came down. Him, like I guess every other athletic program in the Valley, went to work, doing what they had to do, doing their due diligence. And kudos to BISD and you guys for making these possible and making them safe first and foremost. So that's the most important thing. But yeah, I mean, the numbers are really huge. I was talking to Coach Davies at Harlingen. He was telling me that that they have more kids than they did even last year for strength and conditioning. So it's just one of those things to see, Coach. So I'm glad everything's going well for you guys.
Yeah, sometimes a bad situation brings up something positive, and I think that's a perfect example. I think kids appreciate the sports a little bit more because it's taken away from them for 2 months. Now they're just dying for it again. So
yeah. The old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So, right. Being in play here. But, Coach, you're fortunate for you. You were in one of the sports that, unless you made it to the state tournament, didn't get cut short. You guys were able to have a full season for your seniors. Come out just, first of all, how fortunate were you to be able to have your seniors finish the season instead of having it cut short and taken out from under them?
Right. It's a lesson for most everybody. We've always told kids, bring your best effort because you can't count on tomorrow. When you slack off at practice, when you show up late, when, those kinds of things, it means you're not valuing today. It means that you're thinking about tomorrow, or you're thinking that, and so, we talk about injuries. What if you get hurt and you don't play, work hard today because then you regret it later. Well, when this happens, man, it's a big lesson to everybody, and I feel bad for those seniors, especially for the ladder sports that didn't get, because they worked so hard to get there. And there's nothing you can say. There's nothing, other than, it's just accept it eventually. But I think for us, we were lucky that we were able to finish the season. But it was, we know what's hard is usually when you have a loss, when you lose, you have this thing that you want to fix. You reflect and you want, well, we should do this, we should do that. And for us, the last game happens to be a loss in the playoffs, right? And you go home and you pick up uniforms, but then you start building your offseason, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, that was taken away. And so the long wait and the fact that you can't get back to fixing for next season, that makes it stressful. But, I think that being 3 months now, we're starting to accept it. At first it was very stressful. Now I'm not so stressed about that part is gone. I'm just eager. The eagerness now is intense because we want to get going,
Yeah.
We hope that we're able to beat this thing and we're able to go back to some sort of normalcy and have full seasons this year.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems like the UIL and everybody is being really careful. Just some of the people I talked to, they're going forward, but also being cautious. And, it's a big deal because things are ever changing. I know the UIL is following the CDC. While meantime, you guys are following the UIL. So it's just kind of like a wait and see kind of thing. So everybody's focused and everybody's, is safe, which is the most important thing.
Right.
But you mentioned your basketball team, Coach. Yeah, you guys finished with the loss there. You've had a young crew the last couple of years. Let's talk about them. And, you talk about the mindset of your kids. One thing I've always loved about you guys is the down 20 emblem on your shorts. I've always felt you guys always reflected that pretty well, especially with younger kids. You need that scrappy kind of guys, tough kids, and you're always a tough out. I mean, just talk to us about this year and about the squad.
Well, we have 8 kids coming back, 4 starters. 2 of those starters are football kids, so we won't see them until later, but I know they're putting in the work. It's a young batch of kids, mostly now going to be juniors. There were sophomores last year. In fact, 6 of them were sophomores last year. But they were mature when it came to the discipline. They were mature when it came to wanting to learn. And a lot of skill. They had a lot of skill, but there's no substitute for time. There's no substitute for being, 15 compared to being 17 and things like that. So they're going to be older now. They're going to be battle tested now. They know what's expected of them, and so it's, you kind of expect better. You expect tougher. And so the expectations go up, and I think these guys are ready for it. We just don't know now because we haven't really worked that off season. So we expect better, but we won't know until we know, So that's one of the things that make it eager. But we do have a lot of contact. These kids, they're working hard. I mean, the hardest batch of kids I've had. We've always had tough kids, especially Pace kids, whether they're playing tennis or baseball or football at Pace. They're tough as nails. Well, these kids are probably the toughest we've ever seen. When it comes to what they're willing to do on the court.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned toughness because a couple of weeks ago I talked to Coach Pardo, and we talked about this at length before. That he sees some of the younger kids that are coming in that are the old school kids from the neighborhood from Pace. The real hard nosed kind of kids come in, real tough as nails types, and it's just funny to kind of see you reflect the same thing of these kids and the work ethic that they have and the toughness that they have. And I feel that you guys have done well because you guys have had that, especially the last couple of years with younger guys coming in. And, those are the meat and potatoes of your team. Your money guys are all underclassmen. Like your leader, Christian Guajardo, he's younger kid along with younger guys around him. Just how's the dynamic with younger kids, kind of growing? How has that been for you the last couple of years?
Christian, he started for us as a freshman. Alexandro Gado, Elias Fortanelli, those kids were freshmen, and after the first workout, I've called them in and I said, you're not ready to be on the varsity. And so they opened up their eyes. They're like, uh-oh. So you're ready to play on the varsity. And that's all the difference in the world. They weren't just going to be on the bench. They're going to play. And they were that ready. Well, they had put in a lot of work to it. But these kids are not your street kid, that they grew up high academics, very high academics, very book smart, but they had heart. And I think that that's the one thing that you can, whether you're, high economic or low economic, if you have heart, you're going to have a right spot in our team. And so these kids, they're top notch in the classroom. They're number 1, number 2, number 3 in the class. But they're also compete on the floor. And I told my assistant, I've never seen kids like this. You get 1, maybe 2, but to have 6, 7 that all fall in the same, attitude, it's mind blowing. I'm so blessed to have them. I try to instill them some things, some toughness on them, but they're already tough. They're already tough. Yeah. So it's good to see.
Yeah. You talk about the toughness and being battle tested. Certainly in the area you guys play, not only in the district, we have the Mercedes, Brownsville Veterans, those kind of teams that you guys play. But, I know you guys always schedule Los Fresnos. You guys go play at the tougher tournaments and play some of in the Upper Valley. Just overall, it seems like the talent level around you guys and here in the Valley has certainly gotten better. And especially here in Brownsville, you see there's more and more kids and more teams are making these playoff runs or having these winning seasons. Just how have you observed that in the last few years?
I think the expectations are higher. Sometimes I remember making the playoffs was an accomplishment. You got a shirt and you felt happy about that. And that's no longer true. Making the playoffs is just the expectation. That's like, anything else. It's like getting a 70, you want more than that, and everybody sets out to win a district title. But even at that, it seems like, okay, we did that. We want deep runs. We want to play in the big dance, in the big show. And so, for me, if you're a 6A and you want a district title, you're going to get a phone call from me. I want to play you, the Laredo schools and those kinds of schools. We want to play you because, I've always said, little brother plays big brother, little brother gets better. And so we felt that if we compete at that level, you want to compete at that level, you gotta run against them. You got to see what they do. A lot of times it was just intimidation. If you don't believe you can beat somebody, you're just not going to do it. But when you compete and you play, even if you lose, the kids just felt, if I just did this, if I did that, we would have taken them. They always have that attitude. And so when you play them again the second time, you don't have that fear anymore, or you don't have that, you're not intimidated anymore. You're ready to go. So that's been our mindset at Pace from day one. And I think that most schools have competed now. There's a lot more leagues. There's a lot more kids traveling upstate and out of state. I had some kids playing Las Vegas tournaments last year. So all that experience, at least they feel a lot more confident when they step on the floor.
Yeah, and you talk about calling the 6A district champions. One of the teams that I feel that I look forward to watching you guys play, especially in the pre-district season in the last couple of years, has been Los Fresnos. You guys have had a really tough games against each other. Even though Los Fresnos has been Los Fresnos, they outmatch a lot of schools. There's been times where for most of the games, you guys you guys give it everything you guys got. Just what's it like being playing against Marco Hinojosa and his boys over there in Los Fresnos, and kind of the little bit of a pseudo rivalry you guys got going on?
Yeah, when I started coaching, Marco was a player at Lopez. So I got to see Marco as a player. I was an assistant coach at Lopez when he played. So, I didn't coach him directly, but I coached him. And then I saw him pick up the team, and Los Fresnos, little by little, started to build, and they've got a lot of talent out there. Again, you put a benchmark on them and say, okay, this is the team that we need to be considered a legitimate team. And so we do play them, and it is a rivalry just because they're tough, but it is a friendly rivalry. We get along really well. I talk to Marco often. when we're on the floor, my job's to beat him, his job's to beat me. But outside of that, we love the game. We feel that the game just means so much to us, and we try to teach that to our kids. And you can kind of see it. There's never been any animosity between us. It's just, let's get after it. And it has been fun to watch those kinds of games. And we both look at each other like, man, that was a great game. Just do it again,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun. And same thing goes when we play against Nicky Rowe, we play against some of those tougher teams. It's been fun. Westlaco, it's fun to play at that level.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we talked about your district. Just in that district alone, you talk about the games that you have to play night in and night out on a weekly basis. I mean, just down the road, you have Brownsville Veterans and Coach Gibson, and you bring in Mercedes, who has really good athletes, and they're a tough out. Ed Couch Elsa. I mean, just what's that competition been like for you guys, and being able to grow, and just the atmospheres in the gyms, everything. It seems like your district is one of the more exciting districts that I cover for me personally.
Right. And Donna, Donna too.
Donna, yes.
Got a year this year. So I think that, there's just, you can't call them all rivalries, but the games mean so much to these guys, and just in Brownsville alone, there's 4 schools. We have Lopez, we have Porter, and Vets, and, throw records out the window. It's about Brownsville pride. And so, you may be, 10-0 when you're playing Porter, who might have just won one game. Well, Porter Pace, that's going to be a big game no matter what. Porter's always ready. Lopez is always feisty, and they get after it. And I think all this competition that we see in district kind of gets us ready for playoffs, because every game is like a playoff atmosphere. And again, as a coach, you feel it. You feel that intensity. You see the fans yelling and screaming on every shot. It's been fun. It's been a fun ride, and I hope that continues. I hope we really get back to that intensity again. Yeah. Yeah,
and you talk about intensity and the fans. Man, just those gyms and the two games against Brownsville Veterans that I saw. We pack your gym in, and the whole House of Pain on the scoreboard. That's just a really good atmosphere. It's always loud, filled to the brim. I mean, just it kind of seems like a playoff-like atmosphere every time you go in there, especially for a game like that. I mean, in all the time that you spend coaching, has that atmosphere, always been that way? I mean, is it more in recent years?
Yeah, it has been. And Coach Gibson and we talk a lot too, and we get along really well. I respect him so much. He's done a lot for the game, especially here in Brownsville, and he was the coach at Pace before he went to Vet. So I filled in for him, and I told him right off the bat, because I met with him before I actually came to Pace. I met with him, and he said, well, for me, I told him, those are big shoes for me to fill, because he had done so well at Pace. So coming in, you want to build a program like that. Well, it just turns out that we're playing against each other, and it's kind of now that's the expectation. And I know this past year he said it's kind of like Duke, North Carolina playing each other.
Yeah.
And it's like that. And you kind of, every game was an instant classic. Every game, whether you won or lost, you just enjoyed the atmosphere so much,
Yeah. And I mean, especially in the last decade, I feel that the competition is at an all-time high, and not only in that area, but in the Valley. You see more and more teams on the brink of the regional tournament, going to the regional tournament. You've seen a couple of teams. You've seen Edinburgh Valley. You've seen Santa Rosa get to the state tournament. I mean, that kind of just raises the level for every coach. I mean, just you as a coach, this is your livelihood, this is your job. You see that, you see the bar raised. I mean, what's that like watching it from your eyes? The bar.
The kids are getting trained at such a younger age, and they're taking the game more seriously. It isn't just a second sport, because in Texas, football is king. I understand that. I ain't changing that. But I think whether it was soccer, Brownsville, baseball, Brownsville, but basketball seemed to be like, well, we do that too. We just don't grow them that big, but the 3-point shot and the development of these kids' ball handling skills that takes so much time, and they're picking it up from very little. to the point now where if you're coming into high school and you haven't touched the ball before, or you've never played before, it's too late. You know, the level of talent and the level of skill has come such a long way that now we've become more of a dangerous team because kids are shooting the ball from the volleyball line. Kids are dribbling, between three people. The passing is improved. So the basketball skill, not necessarily the size, we don't make them very big. We've always had speed. We've always had toughness, but the skill has brought us to a level now that we're equal to most teams we're going to see out there, just because these kids are spending a lot of time. Parents are taking kids to clinics, to camps. They're spending a lot more time developing those skills, and I think that's been, to me, the biggest change in the last 10 years or so. It's just kids are just way more skilled now. Yeah,
and you talk about the 3-point line, and when I think of the three ball, your team is one of the teams that comes to mind immediately, especially in this area. We talked about it after games. Your kids always have the green light to go and to shoot. I mean, they talk about in basketball, you just got to see one drop, and that's all it'll take. But it seems like your boys, like no matter what situation, they always have the green line to shoot. How do you develop that trust with your kids, and how do you develop that mindset?
We drill it a lot, have confidence in your shot. I think that if you believe, and we tell the kids, no, it's going in. Don't think it's going in. No, it's going in. Just confidence. But it's a trade-off, Mark. I'll tell you this. I tell them, if you defend, if you're willing to take the charge, dive after a loose ball, do all, box out, get a rebound, do all that dirty work, then you can take any shot you want. You can take any shot you want. And I think kids play more freely that way. If they're afraid, like, when I played, you better not shoot the ball outside the paint, because you're going to get out. And so you play with a certain type of fear. Oh, coach is going to take me if I do this. Or coach, if I turn the ball over, coach is going to take me out. I don't want my kids with any kind of fear. So I give them a green light, and there's the kids, you'd be surprised. Kids will not take a bad shot because they know that, shots are not always going to come their way. So, I always tell them, just make sure it's a good shot. And if you feel like it's a 3, it's a good shot, then take the 3. Feel that it's not, then pass the ball, to the next person. And I think that's just talking to them, and them understanding the game and how it's played as a team, not one guy. And but again, just do the dirty work. Do the dirty work, then I don't care what happens on offense. And that's worked for us. That's worked for us so far.
Yeah, definitely. I know since coming into the area, you guys have been as consistent as they come. There's always teams that stand out, and certainly you guys, especially there in Brownsville, are one of the more consistent ones. And it's always fun watching you guys, Coach. But as we kind of reach the end here of this interview, I know you coaching basketball, you dabbling in cross country now. What do you want to see from these workouts as we start kind of moving forward a little bit, getting closer to to practicing the spring sports? What do you want to see here at the fall point from these kids?
Really, what I like to start seeing is some competition. We are not allowed right now. It's all been individual work. No head-to-head combat. That's still not allowed, and that's kind of like that's really when you can dribble against air and shoot against air all you want. But I'd like to see the competition. I'd like to see us running against each other again, and running fives and starting league plays that we missed in the summer. I like to see something open up so the kids can get to running again. That's really what we're looking forward to. We know that the work is there as far as fundamentals, but I'm anxious to see them compete.
Yeah, and so you mentioned nobody's inside yet, and that's good. I know that everybody has the options, but yeah, it's I think right now treading water, being cautious, the most important thing. So everybody's kind of aiming for that June 22nd kind of date to maybe start, dabbling in that. So it's going to be
our phase 2, which is inside the gym and starting to compete, is not until July.
Oh, okay, cool.
So these next couple of weeks, we'll still be outside, which allows you to do something different. Work on your agilities, work on footwork, work on things that perhaps you wouldn't, if you just go behind inside the gym and just work on dribbling, shooting. So it should make us, and I feel that it will make us just better athletes, because you're training your body to do different things and be able to take more pressures. The game today is so dynamic. You got to run fast, but then you got to get back on defense. You go to side. A kid that can be able to do all those things has to train for it. And I think these kinds of drills that they're doing out there on the field is going to get those kids ready for that.
For sure. And right before we wrap up here, Coach, the NBA game, they've announced they started to move forward a little bit. I knew you as a basketball coach, that game has really, especially in the last decade or so, it's become really, really big. It seems like the fan base has grown and swelled here. What's your thoughts on it coming back? I know when it went away, a lot of people were probably really disappointed, especially in the heat of this part of the season. But, for it to start coming back, just what's your thoughts there?
Well, when you follow a team or you follow basketball in the NBA, you kind of get into this rhythm and you kind of figure, oh, this team is hot. This team is hot too. We're going to see them in the finals. And so with this break, it kills that rhythm. And so now we're starting again. And you're going to have to pick up within a week, or two, who's going to be hot again. So it'll be interesting to see how many teams are able to rebound or continue to be hot if they were during the regular season. I venture to say there's probably going to be some teams that weren't doing so well all of a sudden take over, just because it kind of evens out the playing field. You're starting off, even though they're picking a select few or the teams that are doing better. It'll be interesting to see how that dynamic is going to change. We don't know if the number one is still going to be number one. So those are the expectations, but it'll be interesting to see who's gonna take it.
Yeah, and I guess everybody as a casual sports fan or a mega sports fan, whichever you are, everybody loves the NBA. So for that to come back, it's gonna resume a little bit of normalcy. So that's gonna be really great to see. And hopefully the Spurs back here, my boys, maybe do something, sneak in. I know LaMarcus Aldridge had surgery, so I know he's gonna be out, but. It happens, but just wanted it all to come back, Coach, and I hope you're doing well. I hope you and the kids and all your families. I hope everything's going well for you, Coach, and I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Thank you for having me, and I hope you guys are doing well too. And we'll see you down the road. We're expecting great things from these kids, and I know that you'll be there along the way to showcase them. So I appreciate all the coverage you did last year, and we continue to look forward to seeing the future now.
Awesome, Coach. And everybody watching this, want to let you guys know, just to go follow us on our Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram. Find us on YouTube. We're on the Roku Network, Apple TV, stuff like that. All our stuff's there. This is going to be the end of the Sideline Sit Down for this week. We'll be back with a whole new set of shows on Monday. 3 shows, 1, 3, and 5. Three different times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So catch it here. Coach, again, thank you very much. And everybody, thank you for watching, and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.